I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Curt Hagman, who, pleasure to introduce. I think Curt's been on every single one of our Tea Party events since we started having them last year. State Assembly at District 16.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here and welcome you all to the 16th Assembly District in the beautiful city of Chino Hills. I'm very honored to represent you in the Sacramento, the State Assembly. Honored by voted record so far of not voting any tax increases on you, not for those silly budgets we've been passing up in Sacramento. I will continue to fight for us not to have those things. This is an exciting election year this year. A lot of change is going to happen both here in California and across this nation. We have some great candidates that are up for election. Please urge you all to go out and support all of them. Get us some help in Sacramento, get us some help in the Congress and the nation so we can start taking this country back piece by piece. I'm going to be forward here a little bit. We're going Damien Dempsey, you're going to hear from in a second. He's one of our exciting candidates we have here in the state level as well. I've had an opportunity to meet with him and talk to him several times. You're going to see why we have passion this year, why we're so excited about our state races, our assembly seats, our Senate seats, and all the way through Congress. We have some great candidates. We're going to take back this nation one piece at a time. It's going to take you to stay involved, not just in this election cycle, but for continuing ones. Hold us accountable, make sure we're doing our job, we're representing you, and just making sure that we hold government smaller, make it a more efficient system, and we'll keep fighting for you all that. I want to thank you for all your past support. Ask for your vote again this November so I can represent you for another 2 years at the Assembly. And thank you again, Kelly, for setting up such a great event and all the help that we have here today. Thanks.
Welcome to the plan. Welcome to existence.
And now please welcome Earl DeVries, State Senate District 32.
Hello everybody, how you doing? All right. I heard it was a tea party, so I brought my hat along. So I've been to many, many parties. And just to let you know a little bit about me. And my name is Earl DeVries. I'm running for State Senate. And it's Pomona, Ontario, Montclair, Fontana, Rialto, Colton, Bloomington, Rialto, and the city of San Bernardino. So those are the cities that are covered by the area that I'm hoping to represent. And since many of you probably don't know too much about me, I'll give you my short version of the many hats I'm throwing to breeze. This is my Second Amendment hat, my National Rifle Association hat. I've been involved for over 5 years with the Friends of the National Rifle Association. We do fundraisers to help promote the Second Amendment, and I'd love to have you come out to an event. We have one in Rancho Cucamonga in the spring. I should have put this hat on first. This is My Name is Earl, as you've seen the television program, and we had hoped that it was going to be a good program. We could use that as a logo on our yard signs, but it's not a very good program. So, but it is my name. So. And this is my work hat. I'm an average working guy, just like everybody else. I work for a company called Generator Services. I've been there for almost 20 years. When I started working there was myself and the boss, and the company's worked up to about 50 employees. So as a employee and manager at the company, we know how to stimulate jobs and how to keep customers happy. And government regulation that we get from Sacramento is not part of the solution for improving the economy in California. This is my father of the bride hat. My daughter got married a little more than a year ago to a great godly man. She went to college in Michigan and found a guy, and so very sad that she's so far away, but she married a great guy. I've been married to my wife, Judy, for over 30 years, and we have an adult son, Doug, who lives at home with us. And last but not least, this is a hat that my niece gave me for Christmas last year. It says, "God loves you and your unborn child," Psalm 139. I'm a Christian. I love the Lord with all my heart, and it helps guide me in the things that I do. And we just appreciate the chance to share with you a little bit today. Make sure you get one of my teabag flyers that says tax enough already, and if you get a free cup of tea from Earl DeVries. So thanks a lot.
Just a note here, if there's any other speakers that have not signed in yet, please go ahead and do so at the desk so we can get you all queued up here. I'd like to introduce our next guest. He's a candidate for the Secretary of State of California. He's on the platform of creating jobs, but importantly, increasing voter participation, fair and open elections, and using technology to do that while cutting waste. Now, he's a gentleman who grew up in really dire poverty, living in a trailer inn. With will, hard work, and talent, he won a scholarship as a youth to Stanford, played for the NFL on such teams as the Dallas Cowboys and New York Jets, managed youth ministries, and built his own business. He's a fascinating individual. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Damon Dunn.
Probably not happy with me about this, but I'm going to do it anyways. That's just what I do. So how are y'all doing today? All right. 1976, movie came out called The Network. It was about a fictional television network called UBS, Union Broadcasting Station. Had Faye Dunaway, Peter Finch, Robert Duvall, and it was Howard Beale was the character that was the anchor of the major news show. And they were losing a lot of money. And he found out 2 weeks before he was going to be fired that they were going to can him. And he felt like he was the scapegoat. So he goes on live television and he gives perhaps the greatest line in cinema history. Yeah. He says, "I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." And then he starts to implore other people. He says, "If you feel like I feel, let down your car windows, let up your house windows, and start to yell out that I'm as mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore." Anybody else feel that way today?
Yeah! You got it.
Now I know I felt that way. Growing up, my mom had me at 16. My father was killed when I was 3. I lost 3 friends to murder by the time I was 16, and I lived in a 3-bedroom trailer with 10 people. We were on food stamps, government cheese, we didn't have health care. And I remember going on then to Stanford University and finishing at the top of my class and being mentored by Condoleezza Rice and going on and playing in the NFL. Going back to Harvard Business School in 2005 doing executive education and owning my own business. And people ask me, "Damon, how did you start off with such little means and then end up where you are today?" You know what I tell them? Because I was as mad as hell, and I simply wasn't gonna take it anymore.
Yeah.
And I know that people are feeling that way right now because we have a federal government that has not learned its history lesson. And the history lesson is this, is that socialism doesn't work.
Yeah.
Look at at the difference between North Korea and South Korea. The difference between old East Germany and West Germany. The difference between Cuba and Mexico, Russia, China, India have all tried these forms of government and it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Because government-funded top-down programming leaves you with costs that continue to escalate even when revenues go down. Right now, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are not funded. Costs have exceeded the amount of revenues that we have coming in. And then the current president thought it was a good idea that since we have 3 non-funded entitlements, that I'm going to add another one. In Texas, we say that dog doesn't hunt. And so we find ourselves with debt that is escalating. And the real problem that we have here, if I can just add a little substance to this, not just a lot of red meat, is that we have created government uncertainty. Listen to this. This is critically important. I've been out to New York and I've met with Bloomberg and I've met with Louis Bacon, I've met with investment banking firms and I've met with the top think tanks in the country. And what you're finding is that non-financial sector companies have $1.7 trillion of cash. That's about 15% more than they had in 2007 before the recession began. And yet they're not hiring. Intel brought in $700 million last quarter, the highest quarterly earning in over a decade, yet they're not hiring. Alcoa has brought in $500 million since the beginning of the year, yet they're not hiring. Pfizer has $26 billion of cash reserves, yet they're not hiring. So the question that begs is, why are they not hiring? Exactly, because they're scared, because there's uncertainty. They're hoarding their money because the 2001-2003 taxes are going to expire in January and they can't figure out what their tax liabilities are going to be. They're hoarding their cash because of this new financial regulatory bill that's passed with over 500 new regulatory rules. And you compare that to Sarbanes-Oxley, which passed in 2002 as a result of all the accounting scandals like in companies like Enron, only 16 new regulatory policies. Compared to 500, 30 times larger. They're hoarding their money because there's uncertainty because of the amount of debt that's being projected by the President's Office of Management and Budget. Debt is going to be 90% of GDP in 4 years. That's not the CBO, that's the President's Budget Office, Peter Orszag, giving that number. Now what's dangerous about that? Think about this. Greece had a debt that was 75% of GDP before the recession. And then the recession came, revenues dropped, now debt shot up to 114% of GDP. And that put them in a situation where they were no longer fiscally solvent. And if we have a debt that shoots up to 90%, what if we face another Great Recession? What if we face another September 9/11? What if we face another Katrina? What if we face another BP oil spill? Or God forbid, we face multiple or successive of these types of incidents. That's why it's irresponsible to run debt up to that high, because it puts us in a position where we cannot respond to the next emergency. And I am as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah.
We have a state government that's handling education in such a way, K through 12, where it's dropped from 48th to 49th out of 50 states. $19 billion deficits annually, what we're facing. 2.5 million people that are unemployed, 3.5 million people underemployed, which means they work less than full-time employment or they stop looking for work. Tax policy and regulatory policy that pushes businesses out. Pensions that have cost of living adjustments that go up every single year, even when our revenues go down. Counselors and CalPERS losing $250 billion, yet that's guaranteed against the general fund. At some point, we're in a structural deficit that we can't get out of because the leaders in Sacramento refuse to deal with the difficult problems because they're no longer statesmen. See, a statesman says this. A statesman says the most important thing is the state. That's why George Washington risked his life, not for some political power, but they believed truly that taxation without representation was wrong. But they were statesmen. They put the state first. And a statesman says this, number one, the trains have to run on time. We have to operate effectively and efficiently. And number two, the lights have to stay on. We need a balanced budget. And when you start making decisions that are in your own selfish interest or in the interest of special interests like unions at times,